Welcome, everyone, to our final closing session. Thank you all for joining us throughout the day and making it to our closing remarks. We really wanted to just share some high-level thoughts about some take-homes from the conference, what's to come, and revisit some key themes as we close out and reflect on really a really terrific 2 days together. So thank you. I'm going to get started, and then Rick and Keegan and Lauren will all share some things too. I wanted to take an opportunity as we got started to reflect on some key take homes for me personally the past 2 days. Importantly, I feel like one of the biggest take homes for me was learning about and respecting everyone's science fiction recommendations, which people have been sharing verbally throughout the sessions, and Keegan will share a little bit more about that in this session. I am a huge sci-fi fan, so it's been so fun to hear about what folks have said. Okay, I wanted to just go through a little bit. Something that we do in my family with my husband and 2 daughters is anytime someone has a birthday or it's New Year's, we go through our phone and look at pictures of the last year. And we use that to kind of think about, oh, this happened and this happened. We do a bit of a year in review spawned by our pictures. So I went through and did a 2 days in review by looking through my notes and our agenda and some of the chat from the last 2 days. And so it's not meant to be a summary. It's not meant to share everything. It's just for me personally, some of the things that stuck out to me as I do a chronological review of what's happened. Okay, so to get started, I was thinking about how, in addition to people really liking cats and dogs and bunnies and many more things, I learned a lot about people's love for guinea pigs, octopuses, which we learned is not octopi, reptiles, and especially cows. I really liked coming back to the animals and the pets. Okay, getting into the substance of what we talked about. I've definitely continued to learn that there are very different and varying views as to whether communicating in the context of science, if thinking about basic science is important or not. We started with a poll yesterday where we were kind of 50-50 as a group as to whether or not it was important. We also heard in a great session about what the public thinks, that the public really doesn't distinguish between basic and applied. And maybe that's okay, or maybe that doesn't matter. Some of you might have opinions about that. We continue to hear, and this is something that I feel like we hear a lot about and is incredibly important, especially in the context of this conversation, that articulating your goals when communicating or engaging is just so important. And yet we all know this, and yet we all struggle a bit to do this, and it's hard to articulate them, and it's hard when supporting others in our community, whether scientists who are looking to communicate or others to do this articulation. I was really struck by the conversations about relevance and what relevance means to science and basic science. And of course, relevance in any communication context is incredibly important. It's strategy and it's audience dependent, but really appreciate the thoughts about challenging the frame as to whether or not utility needs to be the default for basic science, and perhaps we do this too much. Excited about opening up our minds and perspectives about this and thinking about this more moving forward. Okay, when we started today, we learned that Keegan really likes cats and is a bit sad that more people don't like cats. We also heard from Kavli and DOE's leadership this morning, and I continue to be inspired and appreciative of the fact that in addition to being funders of basic science, our leadership really also cares a lot about the relationship of science within society and the connections between the people who do science, the processes of science, and the products of science. We really unpacked and tried to articulate the questions we should pursue to deepen our understanding. And one of the things that Rose Hendricks talked to us about are some key themes that we should look at. I won't reiterate those here. They're in the reports, but was also struck by, and this came up in this last session as part of my reflection, at speaking about what the general themes are that we should pursue is pretty easy, but articulating very specific questions and things to dig into tends to be harder for us as a community, as a species, and that's something that we should be thinking about as we move forward. So what specifically do we want to be trying to figure out? Reflecting a bit on training scientists, we had a great session with people who study science communication training and lead training. And just reminding ourselves that we really need to bring all the things that we talk about when we think about communication training to basic science too. The importance of understanding learning and communication theory, establishing goals, identifying audiences, bringing and developing skills of listening and humility and empathy to our work, and of course, finding relevance. This goes for all communications training and all science communications training. I was also struck by how for communicating the context of basic science, perhaps a few more examples would be useful for us to build on and learn from. It might not be totally different, but we could dig in more. I know you all have many examples, so we as a community bringing some of these examples together and sharing that would be helpful. And then, of course, as we got through our research agenda discussion, I was really struck by not the questions that might be in a research agenda, but the more meta conversation that happened about a research agenda. Who sets the research agenda? How can we better access the research? How can we do more researcher practitioner partnerships? How can we move the theory of research more into practice and tactics? And so really thinking at that meta level, I found really interesting. And lastly, the one thing I wanted to talk about, which is less chronological because I felt like this was pervasive throughout the entire conference, but wanted to end on this note of gratitude and appreciation, was really about this entire community. All of you, both our speakers and panelists that took time to prepare to be here and took time to engage today, but especially everyone that participated in the past 2 days. I was so inspired by the chat that was going on, the discussions that just happened in the last session with the Miro board. I was particularly excited, not just by the fact that you were here and that you shared your ideas, but how open and supportive everyone in this community has been throughout this meeting. Darren talked about this a bit in the last session and how that is indicative of the fact that I think we're going to move in positive directions as a field. Not only did you share your ideas and support each other in sharing your ideas, but you gave each other tech help on this platform when our help desk didn't get there right away. The amount of books, resources, papers, and tools that you provided each other was really mind-blowing, as well as just general support and applause for each other. So I'm leaving this conference feeling really excited about where we're going as a community, to keep asking the tough questions, to keep trying to learn more together, and to keep our community supported in the great work we do. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Rick to share some thoughts as we conclude. Thank you all.
Thanks, Brooke, and a great summary that I fully, wholeheartedly agree with. Now, as we begin thinking about wrapping up this phase of the Kavli DOE, we're absolutely going to be reflecting on this conference as we begin implementing the results of our research and our best practices that we've observed, and we're going to use them for our own institutions. Brooke and I have learned so much from you all already that will help us improve how our leadership, our scientists, and our communicators engage the public about basic science. It's been really eye-opening for us and given us a whole new toolkit that we can explore. But we always saw SciPEP as a community endeavor, not just a DOE endeavor, not just a Kavli endeavor, and expected to hand our work going forward back to the community, that's you guys, to continue, to expand, and to extend. So now is your opportunity to take all that we've learned so far and continue to learn and make it an integral part of the overall science communication community fabric that we're all part of. And it is a community fabric, and we just need to make sure that we're part of that. Of course, the special opportunity presented by the Journal of Science Communication is one incredible opportunity to make this happen. Thank you, Marina. But also not the only one. We hope as we go forward, you will continue to create, contribute to, and champion more and better public engagement with science overall, and basic science as appropriate. Lauren and Brooke, over to you, for some final polling.
Thanks, Rick. So at the beginning of the conference, we asked 3 questions about communicating basic science. And after 2 days of amazing discussions, we want to hear from you if anything has changed, if your answers are the same, whatever you think. So we're going to ask them again. As with the questions this morning, we've been listening. We've changed some of the answer options, we've added some options, and we've updated others to reflect the conversations that we all have been having. So we hope that these options better encompass the breadth of opinions in this community, but as with before, if this isn't the case, if we have missed something, we definitely still want to hear from you. So please put those thoughts in the chat. Special shout out to the favorite animal question from this morning. My favorite animal is an elephant. So thank you for whoever mentioned that, because I did not include it in the poll and I clearly should have. So the three questions that we want to hear from you about are, do you think that it is important to distinguish basic from applied science in science communication? How necessary is it to develop communications training approaches that are unique for basic scientists? And finally, how important do you think it is to have communication and engagement distinctly about basic research? And unfortunately, I can't actually see the results of the poll at the moment, so I'm going to hand it over to Brooke, who will walk us through what's going on.
Yeah, I'm going to give folks a second to respond. It's a weird glitch in this platform where the person administering the poll cannot see the poll results.
I can't see anything. I haven't been able to see any of the results for the entire 2 days. So thank you to everyone on the back end who has helped me see any of the data.
All right, so when we started the conference yesterday, for all three of these questions, we asked them a little bit differently. We only gave two options. It's unique, it's not unique. And with those two options, we generally found ourselves as a community pretty close to half and half. For one of them, it was 45%, 55%, but it was never 90%, 10%, one or the other. So as we've gone from generally half and half, here's kind of what I'm seeing now. And again, I don't know if this is a change because we've had an introduction of a few things. For this first question of whether or not you think it's important to distinguish basic from applied science in communication, about half of you think sometimes. And then about 15% say yes, 25% say no, 8% say I still don't know, and 2.7% of you, one person, says this is still not the right question. So it looks like there has been a gravitation towards this sometimes, and perhaps that's where you would have been if we offered this sometimes yesterday, but worth noting. Similarly, how necessary is it to develop communication training approaches that are unique for basic scientists? About half of you said sometimes, and then same distribution throughout the other answers. And how important do you think it is to have communication engagement distinctly about basic research? And again, seeing kind of something similar, about half say sometimes, but 33% of you say, yes, it is important to have communication engagement specifically about basic research. So that one's a little bit higher. More of you think, yes, we should on that one. And then 6% say it's not important and 6% say it's not the right answer. So this has been really interesting. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Back to you, Lauren and Keegan, I think.
Yes, we are. Oh, go ahead, Keegan.
I get the very fun part of these wrapping up comments where I get to talk about what a gift it is that you all came and joined us, the gifts that you gave to us and the gifts we leave with you. So first, you came, you participated, you shared ideas, you made connections, and I can't overstate how meaningful that is to Brooke, Rick, Lauren, and I, as when we began this SciPEP adventure 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, we weren't really sure exactly where it would lead. We had ideas. And the fact that there's just been such an overwhelming interest to engage with us, to continue to engage with us. We've had 2 conferences, but we've had many conversations with many of you between both that we've initiated and both that you've initiated with us. And we are just so grateful that you are all here. Thank you. Thank you. A second gift you could leave to us, pretty please fill out our survey. We want to know your thoughts about this conference, what you learned, what you took away. It's valuable to us as we continue thinking about our next phases of work in this space. So please continue to fill out this survey. Now some gifts for you. This Excel Events platform, if you registered or if you know people who registered but who weren't able to come, this Excel Events platform is going to be open for the next 30 days. You can access all the recordings. You can access the slides, the papers, the chats, anything that you want to access through that people have shared either in chat or we've shared in the Knowledge Hub. They're available for you for the next 30 days through Accelerants. Eventually, those recordings, we're going to move them to YouTube, and then they're available to you forever, or however long YouTube lasts, or they get moved somewhere else. So you have continued access to all of these resources. And of course, the papers that were written and published on behalf of SciPEP will be on the SciPEP website as well. Also, we are very, very fortunate to have SciComm Bites with us. They are summarizing these sessions, and those summaries are also going to come out soon after the conference. Thank you, Jacqueline, for agreeing to do that for us. And finally, my favorite part, getting to know us a little bit better and all the speakers. We asked every speaker here what their favorite science or science fiction book, movie, TV, or other media might be. And they, let me tell you, there's some serious science fiction fans across all of these speakers, including us. So as a thank you for all of you coming, we put it into a watch list and a read list and a get together and hang out list for science and science fiction. Thank you to Nathan Clark, the Media and Outreach Manager at DOE Office of Science, who designed it for you. Please enjoy this after the conference and for the coming years. Over to you, Rick.
Thanks, Keegan. And once again, thanks so much to all of you, especially you diehards who stayed with us here until the very final end. One last enormous set of thanks to the Accelerants team for the conference support, especially Ruby, who was there every time we needed her, and the amazing captioneers who persevered through all our 50-cent words. To the Kavli team, especially Lauren, Elaine, Melina, and Katie, and to my DOE colleagues, especially Keegan, and to our leadership at both Kavli and DOE for supporting the SciPEP collaboration and initiating it to begin with. I'm sure the rest of the SciPEP team joins me in gratitude for you as well, both for your thoughts and input so far, and in great anticipation of what we will accomplish together for communicating discovery science and science in general. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks again for spending the last 2 days with us.
Thank you.